You truly believe you are approachable, but your team's silence tells a different story. Think about this. In safety, silence isn't golden, it's a warning sign. Why? Because it's in that quiet that culture is truly formed. Season 2 is all about breaking that silence to build psychological safety. This is the Safety Edge. Welcome back to the Safety Edge podcast, where safety leaders sharpen their edge. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. In this podcast, we explore the real dilemmas safety leaders face on site and in the workplace. Not textbook examples, not perfect scenarios, but the challenging, uncomfortable human moments when there's no obvious right answer and the pressure is real. And in each episode, we unpack one real-world leadership dilemma and explore how adopting a coaching mindset can make the difference. Not by controlling people, but by sharpening how we think, listen, and lead. As we continue our focus on voice, silence, and psychological safety, today's episode is going to be different. Because the dilemma doesn't sit out there with the workforce or with difficult leaders. It sits right here with you, a capable, well-intentioned safety manager who genuinely believes they are doing the right thing. But unknown to you, silence is brewing underneath. Picture this. You are the safety manager, experienced, respected, technically strong. You encourage reporting, you invite conversation, you say often, "My door is open," and you mean it. From your perspective, you are engaged, responsive, and decisive. You handle issues quickly. You remove obstacles. You solve problems. So when silence persists, you assume things are under control. Until one conversation changes everything. You're checking in with one of your team members. Routine, informal. You invite honesty. They hesitate, then they speak. And what they say isn't aggressive, it isn't emotional, it's precise. They tell you that when concerns are raised, you solve too quickly. That unfinished thoughts don't survive your efficiency. That people feel they need answers, not questions, before speaking. And in that moment, you realize something uncomfortable. The silence wasn't resistance, it was adaptation. And now, quietly, and without intending to, you're in a dilemma. Now let's unpack the dilemma. Nothing here is malicious. No one is silencing people intentionally. No one is unsafe in any obvious ways. And yet, voice is shrinking. How do you reconcile being decisive and responsive with creating enough space for people to think out loud? How do you stay effective without becoming unintentionally silencing? Why is this a true leadership dilemma? This is a true leadership dilemma because the behaviors that are rewarded in leaders often undermine psychological safety. Speed over reflection, answers over inquiries, clarity over curiosity. These behaviors build efficiency, but they can also quietly erode voice. And the safety manager sits at the center of this paradox. You're expected to prevent incidents, not explore uncertainty. to reassure leadership, not to surface discomfort. And over time, silence starts to feel like success. What do most safety leaders do in this situation? They double down on competence. They respond faster, fix quicker, clarify sooner. They reassure themselves with logic. If there was an issue, someone would tell me. And unintentionally, they teach the team something dangerous, that only polished concerns are welcome, that half-informed risks are noise, that silence is safer than speculation. Now let's unpack a scene from a conversation between the safety manager and the team member. The safety manager says, "Just a reminder, if you see anything unsafe, my door is always open." And the team member responds,
"Okay, there is something about the job tomorrow. The schedule feels really tight. I'm not sure we've allowed enough time for the isolation checks."
The safety manager responds, "The permit's already approved. The risk assessment is done." The team member says,
"Yes, but last time we rushed, we ran into problems later."
The safety manager responds, "This is a different job. We can't keep slowing things down every time someone's uncomfortable." Now there is a longer pause, and the team member responds,
"Right, I understand."
And he walks away in silence. The door was open, but the space wasn't. Now let's reflect on this conversation. Psychological safety isn't about saying my door is open. It's about how leaders respond after someone steps inside. In that moment, the team member didn't learn that safety mattered. They learned how far was too far, and silence became the safer choice. Now let's see what coaching-based safety leaders do differently. They still care about results. They still act decisively, but they regulate their first response. They understand these truths. The first reaction teaches the system what's safe. They replace reflexive fixing with curiosity. They ask, "What are you saying? What's worrying you? What makes this feel important?" They don't rush clarity. They create space for thinking, for reflection, and for insights to surface. Now let's carry this mindset into the conversation and explore it through the coaching lens. The same setting, the same people. Then the safety manager says, "You mentioned the concern about tomorrow's job. Talk me through it." The team member responds,
"The isolation checks feel rushed, and I'm worried something could be missed."
The safety manager responds, "Thank you for raising that. What's making it feel risky this time?" The team member responds,
"We're overlapping with another crew, and access is tighter than we had initially planned."
Safety manager comes back, "Okay, where do you see the biggest exposure if that happens?" The team member responds,
"If isolation is rushed, the mistake won't show up until later, when it's harder to recover."
And the manager says in a soft tone, "That's important. What would you want us to slow down to protect this job?" Now let's reflect on this conversation. Nothing changed about the rules. Nothing changed about the standards. What changed was the leader's behavior. Instead of defending decisions, the safety manager asked questions. Instead of closing the conversation, they created space. That's coaching. Coaching doesn't lower the bar, it raises awareness. And awareness is the foundation of psychological safety. Now let's explore the coaching strategies in this conversation. These strategies aren't about being softer, they are about being more effective, especially when pressure is high. Each one answers a single question. What do I do differently in the moment that matters most? 1. Regulate before response. Your nervous system leads before your words do. Most leaders respond quickly to prove competence. They jump to reassurance, fixing, or controlling. The coaching shift involves pausing before responding, slowing down your tone, posture, and pace. Why this matters? When leaders are regulated, thinking stays online. When they are not, teams default to silence. 2. Replace answers with signals. What you listen to signals what's welcome. Most leaders rush to offer solutions too early. They correct, they clarify, or explain. The coaching shift signals curiosity before capability. Listen without interrupting or reframing. Why this matters? Listening isn't advice, it's permission. Permission for people to keep talking. You say things like, go on, say more about that. And that way, you help your team member to open up and invite thinking. 3. Shift from solving to surfacing. Prevention lives in early, messy information. Most leaders like to wait for concerns to be fully formed. They tend to dismiss gut feelings or uncertainty. In the coaching shift, you treat uncertainty as data. By the time issues are clear, options are limited. Surfacing early protects the system. Example of a practical prompt could be, what feels unclear or unfinished right now? 4. Acknowledge impact without defensiveness. Intent doesn't cancel impact. Most leaders rush to defend their intention and explain why they reacted the way they did. And with a coaching shift, you acknowledge how your response landed and take ownership without self-criticism. Why this matters? Ownership restores trust faster than justification. A practical prompt you could use is, I can see how my response shut that down. That wasn't my intention, but I own the impact. 5. Model the culture you want. Your reaction becomes the system's reflexes. Most leaders talk about culture and hope behavior follows. With a coaching shift, leaders model curiosity under pressure and reward speaking up even when it's inconvenient. Why this matters? Teams don't follow values, they follow behavior. And a practical prompt you can use could be, thank you for raising that, even if we don't have an answer yet. These aren't communication techniques, they are leadership behaviors. And over time, they answer a critical question for every team. Is it safer to speak or to stay silent? Because whatever leaders make safer gets repeated. Here are the key insights to take away with you from this episode. Silence doesn't always come from fear. Often it comes from efficiency. When leaders move fast, fix quickly, and stay solution-focused, teams learn there's no time for uncertainty. Second, open doors don't guarantee open conversations. What matters isn't access. It's what happens after someone speaks. Third, psychological safety is built in the first response. That initial reaction teaches people whether to keep going or to pull back. Fourth, leaders must be safe for uncertainty, not just solutions, because early concerns are rarely clear. They are messy, incomplete, and incredibly valuable. And finally, culture doesn't shift because leaders talk about it. It shifts when leaders slow down under pressure and choose curiosity over control. Sometimes leadership growth doesn't come from learning something new. It comes from seeing yourself clearly and realizing that the door was open, but the space inside needed work. That awareness, that humility, that moment of recognition, that's where real safety begins. That is the edge. As you reflect on today's episode, ask yourself, where might my efficiency be closing space for voice? What does my first response teach people? And what would change if curiosity came before solutions? If this episode resonated with you, share it with a leader who cares deeply but might not see this yet. While here, make sure to follow and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to invite a friend or colleague to listen along with you. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Safety Edge podcast. I'm Charles Edgar, your safety leadership coach. And until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and keep sharpening your edge. Bye for now.
Brought to you by the Safety Edge platform, an independent leadership and safety learning platform, building leadership capacity, one conversation at a time. Find us wherever you get your podcasts